New at 10, an appeals court is allowing the federal government to keep control of California's National Guard for now. Good evening. I'm Alexandra Lewis.
And I'm Kyle Clark. President Trump seized control of the Guard and sent members of the military into the streets of Los Angeles to crack down on protesters. Leaders in Colorado have been watching that case closely over fear the federal government could send troops here next. Trump deployed thousands of troops in response to the protests in L.A. over his immigration raids. In response, Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom filed an emergency motion asking a U.S. District Court judge to block the Guard from assisting in immigration roundups. The judge made an even broader ruling tonight, saying Trump had not properly federalized the National Guard in the first place. Trump administration appealed, and within the last hour, an appeals court temporarily blocked the judge's ruling. So that allows Trump to keep control of California's National Guard until the court hears arguments about this on Tuesday. 20 Democratic attorneys general, including Colorado's AG Phil Weiser, filed a legal brief supporting California's legal challenge to the deployment. They argue that Trump's order, as it's written, does not just apply to California and could be used to deploy the National Guard to any state within the next 60 days.
The Israeli military has begun airstrikes against Iran, and tonight explosions have been reported in Tehran. Tonight, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel struck nuclear targets in Iran. A report from Iranian state TV says it appears the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, General Hossein Salami, has been killed. Israel has now closed its airspace until further notice and declared a state of emergency. Israel's defense minister warned of potential retaliation that could include missile and drone attacks from Iran. And within the last hour, the U.S. Embassy in Israel has ordered all employees and their families to stay indoors.
Back here at home, weather-wise, saw some fairly spicy stuff today in parts of Colorado. Viewer sends video of hail and steamboat. And here you go. This is just the right timing of a lightning strike in Fraser. Let's turn to Kathy Saban now with the latest on those storms. Kathy?
Things are starting to calm down and wind down as the severe thunderstorm watch in northeastern Colorado has been canceled. Still tracking a few showers around the area, a little bit of wind, some outflow boundaries from collapsing thunderstorms creating that wind tonight. But we're also seeing cooler, more comfortable temperatures after a day with highs near 90. We had 1 to 2 inch diameter hail reported with storms and also damaging thunderstorm wind gusts to 50 and 60 miles per hour up in Wyoming. And that line of storms now tracking into Nebraska. A lot of lightning, a lot of wind, and some heavy rain in those county roads out there. So certainly some county road washouts are possible tonight with the showers that rolled through there yesterday. Showers diminishing in Denver. Severe thunderstorm watch now includes central Nebraska. Those of you headed up I-76 outside of Fort Morgan heading to North Platte, be on the lookout for lightning and the potential for hail for several additional hours. Temperatures will kind of hover in the low 60s overnight tonight. And look up if you're outside. There's a big bright full moon just past full, the strawberry moon, and we're tracking the showers that are moving out, but we have a potential for severe weather tomorrow. The location and timing on that, plus a look ahead to the holiday weekend in just a bit.
We're following some breaking news out of Brighton tonight, where firefighters responded to a large house fire. Brighton Fire says 2 people were inside the house at the time this happened. Firefighters were able to get them out. They were taken to the hospital. This is in a neighborhood right off of East 136th Avenue and Riverdale Road near 470. It was so windy there tonight, the fire briefly threatened a neighboring home, but firefighters were able to go in, knock down the fire before that happened. Several cats are still missing tonight.
So all the big talk from the Trump White House about deporting a family from Colorado immediately turned out to be just talk. The administration now tells the court it never planned to immediately expel the wife and children of the man accused in the anti-Semitic attack in Boulder.
9 News reporter Ria Jha has spent the day going through a new court order in this case. And Ria, the judge says this case was always subject to due process.
Yeah, and this family shouldn't have been treated any differently than any other deportation case. And now their lawyer is saying the White House's attempts to skip that process is retaliation. Days after a man was charged for firebombing people in Boulder, the Trump administration said his family would be deported immediately.
Why did the White House, why did the Secretary of Homeland Security say that the family was going to be subjected to an expedited removal order?
The family's attorney, Niels Frenzen, says the government was never legally allowed to do that. And on Thursday, a federal judge stepped in.
The judge said it was never legally a possibility for them.
The judge pointed out ICE never corrected those White House statements, despite knowing they were wrong. He ruled this lack of clarity as a reason to keep protections in place for the family.
So in light of that failure on the part of the government, Judge Gallagher maintained the temporary restraining order, preventing the government from removing the family.
Frenzen says the confusion isn't just bureaucratic, it's intentional retaliation.
The government is motivated by a desire to punish, and that is, based upon the tweets from the president and the secretary. We do not punish family members of offenders.
Last week, the 6 family members, the youngest being 4-year-old twins, were taken from their home in Colorado and flown to an ICE detention facility in Texas, where they're still being held.
The family should not have been detained in the first place. That is something that should only occur when someone is a flight risk. There was nothing that this family did to attempt to evade authorities.
They're not facing expedited deportation, just a standard removal case which could take months and even years. Frenzen says there's no legal reason they can't wait at home.
Declare their imprisonment unlawful and release them.
So it's been more than a week since that family has been in that Texas detention facility, and the only contact they've had are with the attorneys I spoke with today. They told me the family is doing all right, but the whole situation has been traumatic for the whole family. Rhea Cha, 9 News.
Tonight, Democratic California Senator Alex Padilla is disputing the Trump administration's claims that his forcible removal from a news conference held by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary.
Padilla was attending a nearby briefing today when he interrupted Noem's remarks. FBI officers forced him from the room, put him down on the ground, and handcuffed him. The White House claims he burst in, lunged at the podium, failed to identify himself. It's clear in the video we just watched, he did say his name and his title. Padilla calls the other claims ridiculous and points out the event was in a federal building, so he underwent a security screening and he was escorted by federal agents.
It saddens me, not just my kids that are watching this, and I've had to talk them through what happened and what it means and why I do what I do, but so many kids around the country seeing an administration that puts United States senators in handcuffs. This is not normal. We cannot treat it as normal.
Both of Colorado's senators are criticizing the use of force. Democrat Michael Bennet called it a gross abuse of power and pushed for an investigation. And John Hickenlooper, also a Democrat, said there needs to be accountability. This weekend, Colorado will see dozens of protests pushing back against the Trump administration. It's part of a nationwide No Kings Day.
9 News reporter Colton Chavez joins us now from Genesee, one of the towns in Colorado where we expect people to participate. Colton?
Yeah, Kyle, and local organizers tell me they plan to host their protest right behind me over the I-70 overpass. And so often we see these protests happen within the city of Denver, but what I'm being told now is smaller communities like Genesee are stepping up and pushing back.
There's no political affiliation when we stand on the bridge.
Along the scenic Genesee overpass, protesters are planning a message they say transcends political parties.
You are not a king.
Annie Morrissey says that message is for President Trump and his policies.
The bottom line is we're seeing lawlessness and illegal actions, unconstitutional actions by an administration from the day they took office.
That's why, as part of the No Kings National Day of Defiance, Annie is organizing a group to protest over I-70. This isn't the first No Kings Day Colorado has seen. Since Inauguration Day, there have been several protests at the Colorado Capitol. Annie says the fact that smaller communities like Genesee are now getting involved speaks to how many Coloradans truly feel.
Some will tell us that they don't agree, and that's all right too. But we're all here, and we're participating in this dialogue to say to our government, you do not have the right to take these constitutional protections away from us.
National organizers for the No Kings movement say it stands against the Trump administration's policies, like the immigration raids we've seen in LA. They say this protest was planned well before that happened.
What is happening on Saturday, I think in many ways, is unprecedented in the country.
From big cities to towns like Genesee, Annie says the voice of the people will be heard.
Small communities across our state are participating in this event to say we do not have kings in this country.
And looking around the state, the town of Parker actually asked their No Kings protesters to reschedule or at least take it to a different area because they said it was going to conflict with the Parker Days Festival that's also going on this weekend. They asked the organizers to go to different towns like Castle Rock, but we spoke with some of those organizers today, and they tell us that they plan for protesters still to protest along the town sidewalks. Live in Genesee tonight, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
One of the busiest bridges in Denver is starting to fall apart, and now the city says it may no longer be strong enough to hold heavy vehicles like ambulances. That would be problematic because the bridge is right next to Denver Health. So it's actually the 6th Avenue and the Lincoln Street Bridge over Cherry Creek, among the 67 bridges in Denver rated in poor condition. Engineers say that designation is irreversible. It means that replacement, not repair, is what is needed in the future. A presentation by the city this week warned that both those bridges may soon have load restrictions that would potentially reroute heavy vehicles like ambulances in that area of Denver Health. The city says it needs about $22 million more a year to address its full list of aging infrastructure items.
Bridges, I should also mention, as Jennifer showed previously, are at risk of being load restricted, meaning that heavier commercial and emergency vehicles might be restricted from using those bridges moving forward.
City engineers say the bridges are safe for now, they just will not be safe indefinitely.
An office in Denver where nonprofits help people with things like housing, food, and mental health support will remain open, at least for now. A sign posted on the door of the Aid Center this week said it was shut down on Sunday. The city told us they plan to close it because of their $250 million budget shortfall, but they changed their mind after getting feedback on the planned closure. They now say they're going to postpone the closure. The city says the Aid Center will stay open at least through the fall, and they're now working on a long-term plan and say they'll provide limited resources in the meantime.